Okay, wonderful. This is Jordan with Disc Golf Heaven, and proud to welcome a very accomplished disc golfer to an interview this morning. Today we've got Shasta Criss, PDGA number 28597. Recently took down the Pro Masters division at the Masters Cup 2017. Congratulations and welcome, Shasta.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So I understand this win is very, very special to you. Tell me about that and why it's so meaningful for you.
Yes, definitely. Well, I grew up in Santa Cruz, and the La Viega Disc Golf Course is the first place I ever really played disc golf. And I actually grew up playing golf before I played there up on that mountain. So, yeah, I think it's been about 25 years since I played my first round on that course. And then,
is that right?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of almost like a lifetime accomplishment for me, just because of, I didn't start off competitive, but the last dozen plus years I've got into the competition side, and ever since I've known what the Masters Cup was something that I've dreamed about winning. So,
right. I'm sure you've won plenty of tournaments there at De La, but this one obviously being the pinnacle in a PDGA major tournament. I mean, you don't get any bigger than that stage, right?
I mean, I guess it's a national tour event, so a major would be the next step up. But yeah, I mean,
there you go.
Yeah,
as close as you get on the West Coast.
Like I would say, like winning Worlds would be the next thing, really. Yeah. So, which I came pretty darn close to last year.
Yes, that's right. Man, you've been performing very well here in the last couple of years. It's fun to watch your play. Well, let's get to a couple of questions on where you've been disc golf. You said you played ball golf when you were growing up. How did you get into disc golf? First off, recreationally, and then what was the transition to get into competition and start to improve your game and move up into the professional ranks?
Yeah, well, so like I said before, I grew up in Santa Cruz, and actually both my parents really loved Frisbee growing up, being a child of the 70s, and that, Frisbees was really a huge part of that. And both my parents loved to play catch, and ever since I can remember, since I was a little kid, I would play catch with either one. It was like, both of them loved to do it. So we'd go to the beach, we'd always have a Frisbee with us. And then my dad was actually really good friends with Tom Schott, who is the man who put into La Viega Disc Golf Course and is basically the mover and shaker on the West Coast in Santa Cruz, California, since really the mid-70s, putting events on here. So it's funny, my dad just told me this like last month. He's got so many stories I've heard so many times. He's like, yeah, I think your first Frisbee golf tournament was probably 79 when I took you up there. I was helping Tom out, do the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I can't believe you've never told me that I was there for that. So.
Yeah, and you were 4 years old?
3 years old or 2.5 years old probably. So it's like, it's something that it's always been around me that I've known about. And then there was a tone pole course up at UCSC, the university here in town, that I remember being a kid, my dad taking me there.
Banana slugs, right? Aren't they the banana slugs?
Yeah. So I was probably 5 or 6 when my dad took me the first time Frisbee golfing, and I think I made it through the first hole. It was a pole, and I'm like, this is dumb. Can we just play catch? So that is actually my first disc golf experience. I wasn't a big fan. I was a little young. But then actually when I was a sophomore in high school, I had a friend who was a year older, and he had a car. My buddy Dan Munoz, I think he was the first one who brought me up there. He was like, yeah, we got to go up to Dale, which I already knew it was there because I grew up golfing, and I knew that there was the disc golf course on the next property, but I never really played.
Just up above. Right.
Yeah, and then so that was it. I remember we going up there with the disc and probably a couple other buddies, and the course was a lot more rugged then, and we would lose our disc and then spend the rest of the day trying to find it, or else we couldn't play. We'd get poison oak and get them stuck in trees, and yeah, it was quite an adventure. I didn't really have much skill, I remember, to start, but probably a little bit more than my buddies, just because I was good at Frisbee, but yeah, it was.
Sure.
And I remember bringing other friends up there, and they would get poison oak and never go back. And
oh, that's
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that was kind of my introduction, and then and that was in high school, and I played high school golf during that same time, so that was kind of where my focus was, and disc golf was just a fun recreation thing to do with my buddies, and then I kind of kept with it and played a little bit in college when I went to Santa Barbara, and that's where I played my first other course besides De La, and it was a lot easier. And I think I shot an even par or something like that. And I was like, whoa, this is a piece of cake to what I'm used to.
Yeah, I can't believe growing up on a course, if our listeners have never played De La, man, this place, you go play it now, and it's nothing, I'm sure, Shasta, compared to when you were growing up, when you were in high school. Like you said, a lot less manicured. You know, you've got is it the refrigerator hole?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that thing, yeah, if you're a beginner, that's like a
we would, a lot of times only skip holes.
Yeah,
we'd be like, nah, that we're going to lose if we play this hole, and we'll just go to the next one. Yep.
There you go, man. Yeah, well.
And I've been observing it ever since. It's kind of like a little high school phenomenon. Once kids get old enough to be able to drive up there, you'll start seeing all the little, the teenagers come into play, and some of them you never really see again. Some of them it sticks, and they become the next up-and-coming shredders. So it's pretty amazing how that course can develop a really high skill set of disc golf because of the variety, really.
Well, a few of the best in the world. You just mentioned one earlier, Baldwin, and then obviously Mr. Nate Doss. So there's some reasons that course.
Yep. And Nate went to the same high school as I did.
Yeah, right.
He was
cool.
Yeah.
Yep. He was younger.
He was already playing by the time he was in high school, though, because his dad, Mark, was really into it. So he got him into it. But yeah,
very cool.
He was actually part of the first high school disc golf team. And which is pretty cool. Yep, which is still going. Awesome. It's still going pretty strong. It's pretty awesome.
That's the future of the game. We'll get to that here in a little bit, but wow, I can't believe this stuff is growing the way it is. Anyhow, so once you got started playing, what was the, transition, your following, progression into playing professionally, into getting really competitive and getting really good?
Okay. It's so, fast forward from 92 to 2005 was my first actual tournament. And, I had taken a little break in between that time, but had gotten into it back in 2002, 3 is when I really started getting into it again, when the discs technology had changed at that time. And basically, I wasn't really involved with the scene up there at all. I just was playing a lot by myself, but kind of noticing that I was getting pretty good and getting really close to shooting under par at De La, and it would get followed. There was this tournament coming up, the Fault Line Classic, and I'm like, you know what? And it was 2 days before the tournament. I'm like, if I go out and I shoot under par today, I'm going to sign up for that tournament. And then I went out and I shot a 1 under. So I'm like, all right, I'm doing it. And I had to pay $75 to join the PDGA, and then another $75 to get in the tournament. And they're like, it's pro only. You have to register as a pro. And I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, yeah, pro, disc golf, whatever. And I just signed up, and that was my first tournament. It was the Fault Line. And my first round, I was blessed to play with pretty much it was Criss Brophy, and then 2 other kind of local legends that I didn't know who they were, but it was pretty neat. Criss Brophy taught me how to straddle putt during the round because I didn't really know the rules that well. And I knew how to play, but I just didn't know all the little PDGA nuances. And I was trying to stand behind my disc, and he's like, hey, Shasta, you can put 1 foot here and put it over here and straddle out, because I was behind this tree right next to the basket. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So that was so I kind of just jumped right into the pro division. I didn't know the amateur ranks or anything like that. And I'm just kind of a competitive person, and playing with all the local guys around, I just saw, I'm like, I can throw like these guys. That's who I'm supposed to be playing with. And then, wasn't really that successful. I would mostly be on those bottom cards the first few years, but I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the people I was playing with. And yeah, it was, I don't know, I kind of like a little bit of baby steps. It wasn't really until like my first, I think 2008 is when I went to Oregon for the Beaver State Fling for the first time, and then had my best tournament ever. I had like shot a really hot last round, ended up finishing in 7th place, and qualified for the US DGC, which is like kind of something that I didn't even really, was kind of out of my awareness really. I knew it was there, but I just didn't really feel like I was that caliber of a player. And then went with John Baldwin and Stan Pratt, and we had a blast, and I got to be a part of that experience and kind of see the potential of disc golf. And I think that experience really sparked it for me. Like, wow, I really want to get good at this and grow and like be able to compete with these guys. And I think it was right around that time that I've been a bartender pretty much my whole working career. And I was working basically full time at a music club, and it was all weekends, and it didn't really mesh with my disc golf lifestyle. So I ended up quitting that job and having the weekends free so I could start playing tournaments. And
many disc golfer stories are very similar to that. I ended up quitting because, the car lot I was working at, they just wanted me there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it didn't mesh with golf, so I was done.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that was kind of why I wasn't able to get good in the first place, because I had days free, so I could go disc golfing every day, and then I worked at night. But then it didn't really mesh with the lifestyle of tournaments. And then, I ended up kind of doing some landscaping with my buddy, which was really hard work, which actually wasn't good for the disc golf game either. And that lasted about 1.5 years. And then I actually now I work at that same club I worked at before that I quit for that little bit of time, but now I'm like on a disc golf schedule priority basis, which is amazing.
Nice. That's the way to go.
So
if you're going to have a job, you got to have that priority set, right?
I got asked to work back, and I was really starting to enjoy competing, and kind of said, well, yeah, I'm really getting into this disc golf, and I want to be able to have my weekends free when I have these tournaments. And she's like, that's awesome. Great. I totally support that. And
very cool.
So it's like my good friend and manager of the place. So it's amazing to be able to have that job with all the flexibility. And like last summer, I took 3 months off straight. And
go tour. Right.
Go tour. So, I think you kind of 2009 is like my game just kind of started elevating, and I was getting used to playing with the better players, and confidence started growing. And there was never really I guess if there was a turning point, I would say that going to the USDGC, it just kind of changed my mindset of where I wanted to go with it.
In 2008, right?
Yeah.
That tournament, I had a gentleman, you might even know, Greg Buchelman, been playing since mid-'70s, regionally here in the western U.S. Anyhow, he told me that there were 2 courses that would change the way I play the game, and one is your home course at Dela, and the other you just mentioned is the Winter Gold course at USDGC. So I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to play in 2010 at USDGC. Same year I went down and played your home course at Dela at Masters Cup. And
awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Those 2 courses, with our listeners here, if you guys want to go play a course that will change the way you play the game, choose one of those and go play it, because it will, guaranteed. And Shasta will tell you this as well. Those 2 courses will change the way you play the game. So
it really is true. I mean, if it wasn't for having De La Viega as my home course, I wouldn't be where I am. I would have probably got bored of disc golf if it was more of a park course or something, and if that's all we had. I've never ever gotten tired of playing there and the challenges it brings. So
every round is different. Every shot is different. It's different demands, different lines. So, Wow,
Yep.
fun stuff. Okay, let's see. Next, on to your first pro win. That was actually, you mentioned the tournament, the Fault Line Classic, but in the 2010 edition there.
Yeah.
But was there something in particular that, because you've been playing PDGA competitions for about 4, maybe 5 years at that time. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and so was there anything in particular that led to that breakthrough and achieving that first major, I mean, I can't say major, but that first win in your career at a PDGA tournament?
Yeah, definitely. It was like kind of, I would say 2009 was my breakout year, and I think I cashed in almost all my events, and then kind of started 2010 with a lot of confidence. Got on the lead card in the first tournament with, I think it was like Nate Doss, Nico LaCastro, and Avery Jenkins at the CSUMB tournament, and it was like those were the 3 biggest names at the time really in the game, and to be able to be side by side playing with them, it really helped put a lot of confidence. And then that I still wasn't sponsored yet, and then the Masters Cup, after the Masters Cup, DGA offered me a sponsorship, which they had been flirting with me for about a year before that, so I kind of knew it was coming. And then, but it just, there's something about having a company supporting you, at that time there's a lot, in 2010, it was quite an honor to get sponsored by a company. It still is, but it's
absolutely.
So, and being on that team, and then basically, I think my tournament before the Fault Line was the end of the trail, the big A tier in Visalia, and I played some of the best golf I'd ever played in a tournament, and I went into the final 9 actually tied for first with Steve Rico right above Paul Macbeth going to the final 9 of this tournament. And I had a really rough first hole. I think I took a double bogey, then ended up finishing 2 strokes off of first in 3rd place. And it really, it was my biggest payday, it was my biggest experience, and it really was, it was a great way to go into my home tournament being the Fault Line in 2010. And it was I didn't expect to win, but I know there was a lot of people that saw what I was doing and kind of thought I would do well. And we played the first round at the new course at the time, Pinto Lake out in Watsonville, because they were getting ready for the World Championships the next year, so they wanted to give it so they wanted to give it a first trial PDGA tournament, and I came out with a hot first round and tied for first, and then it ended up being, it was pretty amazing actually. Ben Baker back then was doing an internship down in Santa Cruz at the local cable station, and he decided to take it upon himself to do a little project and come film this local tournament, the Fault Line, his first disc golf tournament ever doing anything like that. Nobody had met him before, and he's following me right from the first hole around these things. I kind of like, hey, what's up, how are you? And he introduced himself as Ben. I'm like, how you doing, man? I'm like, aren't you going to go follow Greg Barsby and so-and-so, the other people around? He's, oh yeah, I'm going to get them, but I'm on you. He kind of called me out right away. I was like, wow, thanks. And he ended up actually producing one of the best videos, I feel like, at that point. He really, unfortunately it's in 240p on YouTube, but he really produced a great video from start to finish. I think it's about 50 minutes long to air on TV, and he explained disc golf in a really good way and the scoring, and then I think he did commentary for it, and did the scoring and did the whole start to finish of the final round and the final 9. So it's pretty awesome. I have my first win is documented.
Man,
my
that's
good
a
buddy
phenomenal
Ben
story.
Baker, who now is helping out grow Central Coast disc golf. So
that's right. Very cool, man. That's fun stuff to hear about. So this is one of the reasons I love doing these interviews, because you don't hear these kind of things if you never start to ask those questions. The only time you do is when you're sitting around the fire on the beach after the tournament, when you're sore as Sunday night, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
So,
no, it's cool.
Cool.
Like I said, my story is, like everybody's, is a little unique, and I feel a lot of it is I've been in the right place at the right time, and
Well, you put the work in too, you know. That's
time,
kind of the
exactly.
Yeah, time. Right. That's a big
So
part of it.
it's not like I ever just was like immediately successful winning tournaments or anything like that. You know?
Yeah.
It's just always been a little bit of growth, and yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to kind of skip around here. We have a few questions we want to get to, but let's see. One of the guys in your region who's doing some really fun stuff with growing the game is Jack Tregser, schoolofdiscgolf.com, and he's got a book that's coming out here. Shoot, I don't have that right in front of me here. We'll get that link on the website with this interview or down in the comments. Anyhow, you're familiar with Jack. You know who he is. You know, he's doing great things. You know, and there's a lot of things coming down the pipeline. I want to kind of get your perspective on where you see the professional side of the game going, where you see the amateur side of the game growing, you know, both here in the U.S. and then, you know, abroad around the world. You know, where do you think things are gonna go?
Well, I mean, that is one thing that is for sure. Every aspect of it is growing in so many different ways. It's pretty amazing, you know. It really is happening.
Yeah, finally, right?
Yeah, you know, it's like they've been saying it for, this is it. But, you know, once we actually got on ESPN or on there and, you know, the shot seen and heard around the world with Philo, and it's just, it's pretty amazing. And then just the modern era of technology and how all the people like went from, like I was saying, Ben Baker in 2010 to now, like people are expecting like the next day to get perfectly produced, uploaded HD content of every tournament now. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so, that was almost an overnight phenomenon, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's so cool. You know, it's become my sleeping pill, man. I like fall asleep to disc golf videos now.
Yeah, flipping through Facebook, or YouTube, on your 60-inch flat screen in the front room. Right?
Oh yeah, put on there. And, like I wake up at 4 in the morning and they're still playing. I'd watch like 20 videos.
Right. Oh, but, man. That's got to be on the top 10 of, you know, you're addicted to disc golf when you wake up at 4 a.m. There are still YouTube videos of disc golf playing the 2012 blank.
I feel like it's practice in a little bit of a way somehow.
Yes, it is. Absolutely, man. That's kind of where the mental game goes, in my opinion, because when you do what you're talking about doing, watching those guys, and you know, you get into that mentality, right? Do you have a real focus on the mental aspect of the game, the side of the game that is more internal than external? Do you practice that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's something that I think, being a golfer my whole life, it's something that just finally it kind of happened. I was probably one of my worst aspects when I was a golfer. You know, I had good natural ability, and I could do things, but it was my head game that really got me into trouble. And then I read some golf books and did that, and I think just over the years and experience and just kind of assimilating and observing, it became probably one of my strengths, or probably my strength, really, because I feel like I'm really good at getting the best out of my ability in maybe a tournament situation, just because I'm good at staying relaxed and breathing and trying to stay slow, and make every shot as the shot at hand is the most important shot. So try not to think about the future or past ones, and then it's kind of cliche and a thing, but there's a reason why people say all that stuff over and over, and it's always way easier said than done. But
of course,
yeah. I think a lot of it for me, just as my disc golf success, it's a lot of it is just practice and just doing it over the years.
So have you outlined a very specific practice routine, or, I mean, you've been playing since you were, knee-high to grasshoppers, so that's not, I don't know, maybe it's natural for you, but not everybody is that fluid, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think actually, well, you said the key word is routine, and definitely, like, when I'm playing in a tournament, I'm very routine-oriented. I like to do the same things over and over and have a lot of different things that I do just to kind of pile on those things I do over and over just to keep the brain, you know what I mean, focused on doing things that you do over and over and with success. So, you know, it's kind of like, I know every disc golfer, you know, like by putting your discs in the same spot or just like the way, or, you know, I like to grab dirt and I like to make sure my key pad is really clean, and like even if it is clean, I'll still clean it off. There's just like little things that I do. You know, I put my mini down the same way every time, pointing to where I want to go, and like I pretty much grab all my discs the same spot, or like at least aligning. It's like there's all these little things that most people that have done something for a long time and are successful at it, they have some kind of routine like that where they do the same things over and over just so that way it's part of their routine, and you stay relaxed and you don't get distracted mentally wondering what you should be doing. So
sure, and that lends itself to the one of, I believe, necessities, one of the only necessities in success in putting in particular is the confidence aspect, which you mentioned earlier. You know, I believe the details of if you hyzer putt or, I mean, pitch putt or spin putt, that's not near as important as your level of confidence going into each and every putt, right?
Oh, for sure. And, you know, you got to keep it. You got to, like, I practice with my putters more than anything. You know, I'm like, I'm not like a huge practice putter, but when I go to the course, that's the first thing I do. I grab them all, and I'm not like, I pretty much, for the most part, stay inside the circle too. Do really make sure the 20 to 28 footers, you're making almost all of those. And, you know, and like that's one thing you see a lot of people, they're just like they're practicing 50 footers and stuff like that. And you know, sure, if you're making all your 20 to 28 footers, go ahead and practice your 50 footers. But I think that's something that really is, you know, if you can make every 20-foot putt, like that opens up your game so much more that you only have, you know, you have a big 40-foot circle on an upshot you need to get into to save your par. That's something I read about a Ken Climo article back when I was trying to get good. He really stressed that. It's like you got to make every 20-footer if you want to be a pro. And I really took that to heart. So
very
got to make the 20.
He's inspired a lot of guys. Yeah, you got that right. I had the guy who told me about that was Big Mike Leslie out of Bellingham, Washington.
Oh,
you know, he said the same thing as you. You don't practice outside the circle. There's no point. If you hit them outside of that, it's a bonus. If you hit everything inside of that, you're going to be in the top 3 in your division, right?
For sure.
That's all there's to it.
I mean, sure. So everybody's watching the videos, and you have Ricky and Paul and whoever else, and all the guys are on there, and you know, they make those all, but you know, they've reached that level. And so, like, you know, I kind of, one thing I see is people, you see AMs thinking, oh, if I want to be as good as them, I got to be making those putts. It's like, you know, you work your way up to that. You don't just make those putts, you know, you got to start closer and be making all those to have the confidence to make the 50 footers every time.
That's a great way to say it.
Or at least 90%.
That's a great way to say it. There you go. That's right. Inside of 20 feet, 90% is pretty darn good, right? But yeah, that's the frustrations of this game. It's fun, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see here. I guess that probably covers most everything that I wanted to get to. Is there anything in particular you wanted to add on to I guess your approach, the transitions into playing competitive golf or moving up the pro ranks?
Yeah, I saw you had those questions on there. It's something that you kind of can see from my organic growing up playing disc golf that I didn't even know what the ranks were before I even started playing pro. You know, I've kind of learned about that all since being a part of it. And, you know, I think as far as advice, I think if you feel like you want to do it, give it a try. I mean, don't like go commit to a whole summer of doing it, but go play those big tournaments. You know, put yourself in there and see where you stand. I know it's when you're competing against your local guys and maybe you're stomping at everybody, you think you can do it, but it's, you know, there's every player, you know, I think that's kind of like a part of my success is I've never really been the best player in my area. Like there's always better players, and I might be maybe people will say that now, but I don't really feel that way. Like there's lots of great competition. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I feel like it's another part of my success is that I've had good competition all the time. So I've always had to just really scrap and get better if I want to beat people around here. So I think just like seek out the good competition. Always, I've always want to play with the best players. I feel like it brings out the best in my game, and and if you want to do it, then go try to seek out and play with the best players you can. Put a little money on the line. I think it, you know what I mean? $5.
That's one way.
It's a lot easier to get to play with somebody who's better too if you propose a bet to them, and then
that's right.
Maybe you'll learn because you proposed a bet to them. You get in their head.
That's right. That's absolutely right, man. It's a lot of fun to be able to do that too.
Lots of $5 bills handed around at De La over the years, and it's helped a lot of people get better.
That's right. Yeah, great. Okay, well, last question here. This is kind of a curveball. You had an interview back after a memorial round, and you mentioned Carney Lansford.
Carney Lansford. Oh my God. My favorite. As my Go ahead.
Oakland A's third baseman. I don't know. I played baseball growing up when I was a fan of the Bash Brothers and everything, and he was a little bit before those guys. But really funny that you mentioned that. I was doing some research for your interview, and it's like, man, Carney Lansford. That's awesome. Not many people know who he is.
Well, yeah, I grew up an A's fan, going to A's games as a kid, and he was there. And he made it. He was different. The way he played the game than everybody else. He wasn't the most athletic, but man, you could just see it in his determination that he was going to give it his 100%, and just so scrappy, and I don't know, he made an impression, and his name was different. So I don't know. I could kind of relate to him as a kid. I've always been a little bit different. So
yeah, Shasta is not your normal, right?
Not your normal, and it took some hippie parents to name their kid Shasta. And luckily
there you go.
I grew up
Nothing wrong with
in
that.
A pretty alternative town, but I wanted to change my name to Michael when I was in elementary school.
Oh, that's great. That's hilarious.
It wasn't until really middle school that I started to appreciate my name. I didn't like being made fun of. And
kids can be mean, man.
Oh yeah.
Funny stuff. Well, cool. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Shasta. Congratulations
for sure.
again. 2017 Pro Masters champion, Masters Cup. Congratulations again. Oh, one thing we didn't get to this year, man, you have had just a stellar finishing record. Looking at your 2017 tournament results, you finished first, second, and fourth. And these are not little tournaments, right? We've got St. Patrick's, Memorial, and the Gentlemen's Club in the Pro Masters. And you're playing against some of the best in the world at those tournaments. So you've been on this year. It's really cool to see. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Keep playing well. Best of the luck. Where are you heading to next? Beaver State, Stilcombe?
I'll be going to Beaver, but I'll be heading up a tournament in Cecilville, California called the Salmon River Disc Golf Tournament.
Okay.
It's a beach here and camping. It's amazing. It's actually Tom Schott designed. And I have a lot of local friends that are going, so it's more of like it's a great tournament with you just kind of come back a little bit. You get away from civilization for a while and kind of come back recharged, and then I'll head up to Beaver State Fling from there, and then another tournament in the mountains of Truckee on the way back. So I'm kind of going to do a 3-week kind of camping tournament vacation.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, one big tournament in the mix, and
Very cool. Enjoy. Safe travels. We'll see if we can catch up on the website there, maybe have some interview questions somewhere. We'll make sure to update that on the information attached with this interview. So thanks again, Shasta. We appreciate the interview.
I appreciate it. All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye.